My hair is completely bonkers today. Oh well. All right, we're gonna get to it, guys. All right, so first questions first. What should I start with? Okay, so I've gotten a few questions from people after my video and also through Reddit. And I thought that I would answer them today. I can make a part 3, part 4, however many questions you have is fine by me. So one of the questions was, what happened before you started twitching, or what do you think led you to twitching? So I would say that because, and I don't think it's the case for everyone, but because I've always been an anxious person as far back as I can remember, I've always had OCD as far back as I can remember. I remember being roughly 5 or 6 years old and like doing these rituals, like these OCD, like, okay, I have to touch this a certain amount of times and do this a certain amount of times. I would calculate, that's the craziest thing. I would calculate stuff on my alarm clock in the morning, and I'd have to calculate the first number with the second, then the first with the third, and then I had to calculate all three of them, and then I had to calculate the two last with the first one. Insanity. So I've always been on the anxious side. Moving forward to my teens, I was an absolute mess. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I was also diagnosed with ADHD. I was on SSRIs most of my teens. I had a lot of psychological issues, a lot of panic attacks, a lot of panic attacks. I was not a resilient kid. Everything scared me. I always thought I had some ailment. Everything that would happen to my body, I would ask my parents, is this normal? Am I dying? You could see from early on that I was always freaking out about stuff. Fast forward to my young adult life, same thing. I was a bit better by that point because I was starting to, I feel that when you're in your teens, you're like, your mind is not too clear from the get-go. So add on to that depression and anxiety and this and that. And it's just a whole whirlwind of shit in there. So when I got to my younger adult years, I was still an anxious person, but it would come in bouts, come in waves, and then I'd be fine for like a couple of months, and then I'd have a couple of months where I'd be super anxious, and then I'd be fine for like a year. Fine, comparing to like my super anxious state. Fast forward to now, to before I got my BFS diagnosis and before this all started. I would say it has been a lifelong exposure to stress that got me to this point. I also know people who aren't quote unquote anxious who do twitch a lot. But these people don't have health OCD, but they do have a history, a pretty strong history of trauma. They have had a major stressor in their lives. They have had something to shock their system for a long enough period of time that I think still amounts to the same damage to your body. So what I believe brought me and everyone I know around me to this diagnosis, to these symptoms, is extreme and long exposure to stress. So then if you add my entire life to this culminating moment in my life where I got BFS, the year before that, I had changed jobs. I was supposed to get a promotion I did not get. I was about to lose the job I had because it was a contract that was ending, so that was stressful. I ended up being put on a different contract in the meantime while they could find me a permanent position at work. So my personal life was shaken. My work life was shaken. I was working long hours. I was working under stress. I was also not sleeping. Never have been a great sleeper. I've always had insomnia. I had gotten off my SSRIs at that point, so resilience to stress was near zero. I was working out a lot. At home, I'm doing a whole bunch of things. I have a whole bunch of projects going on, and I am working out like no other, at least an hour per day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're already overtired and overworked and you don't sleep well and you don't I probably wasn't eating that great either because I didn't have time to eat that great. And then add on to that all the stress and the exercise I was doing daily. And I wasn't like just lightly walking or something. I was like doing like heavy strength training. I was running a lot. And I think all of these stressors put on my body at once, plus the culmination of everything that led up to that, my entire life being anxious, and then probably my genes or the environment, it just collided and my nervous system crashed. Next question. How frequent is your twitching? Bruh. The twitching is relentless. Okay, so every single day, my calves twitch at least a couple dozen times a day. That's just my standard. My calves will twitch in the day. It is worse when I relax. So let's say I'm walking around, cleaning the house, I don't know, doing jumping jacks, running after my dogs, name it. I don't really feel them. They might be happening, I don't know, but I don't really feel them. And then I will sit down or lie down and start relaxing, and that's when the beast comes on. It usually ramps up as I relax and then dies down within maybe half an hour. And I'm not saying they completely go away, but for me, the worst of it is the first half hour when I start relaxing. And I kind of feel like the way I could explain that is that your muscles are, working around. They're usually always tense because we're high-strung people, we're anxiety-prone people. We have too much pent-up energy. Our muscles are always in overdrive, over contracting. I think that when we finally do get to relax and the muscle does try to relax, it gets really erratic. There's all these electrical impulses. It doesn't know what to do with itself. It's been overworked all day. It's been pumped with cortisol, adrenaline, name it. It's trying to like recalibrate. On a good day, basically, my twitching is going to be the calves going. They're maybe going every second or every other second at first, the first half hour that I'm, relaxing and taking a breath. And then it'll die down to like a little more sporadic. That's on a very calm day when nothing has happened to me. Everything was fine. Business as usual. Everything's good. I will also often twitch from the eyes. If I like squint or something, I could provoke them. So the calves and the eyes every single day could be multiple times a day, multiple times a minute. It's just my baseline. Then add to that if I'm overtired, if I had a social event and I drank alcohol, if I don't know, got sick, if I have a really big life stressor, if I'm changing jobs, if someone around me is sick and it stresses me out, or if, there's loss in the family, name it. Anything that could disrupt your day and make you sad, angry, anxious, on edge, name it. If any of those things happen to me, I can be twitching insanely from all over all the time. Like today was one really bad day for me. I got sick last Monday, we're now Thursday, and there's always this lag effect. On Tuesday, I barely ate anything, so that's a stress to the body. Being sick was a stress to the body. And then on Wednesday, I was doing a bit better. I ate a bit more, but then my energy started ramping up a bit more, and then I got to start overthinking about how horrible I felt on Monday night. So I was like looking back on that, trying to not overthink it, trying to not, get nervous about it, like try to not let it taint the rest of my week. And then today I woke up and I felt fine. I started twitching. It's always when when something comes down, I'll be twitching still when I'm in the peak of it, but when I come down from it, holy moly. So I was twitching today from head to toe. I had a huge thumper on my arm. My eyes were going, my eyebrows were going, my lips went a few times. I had one on my upper abs. I had one here, like I said before. I had some in my hands. I had some all over my legs, all over my legs. I had some in my toe. Listen, I think I've twitched from everywhere today. I've even twitched like from the edge of the scalp. Like I've twitched in places I didn't even know you could twitch. How frequent are they? They could go from a few a minute in my legs only to a few every 10 minutes in my legs if I'm really relaxed, to a few every second, like in different spots. It could be, it really varies. I've also noticed that my cycle changes something. If I'm in the first half of my cycle, I will twitch a lot more than if I'm in my second half of the cycle. And I've read somewhere that progesterone has a very calming effect on muscle tissue, which in my case makes sense. I can't even tell you how frequent they are because some days they are so frequent I could not possibly keep up if I wanted to. If I wanted to live a normal life and count my twitches, can't be done. One of the questions I've gotten was, do you feel it more when relaxing? 100%. There are many reasons for that, I believe. Obviously, if you're going around, running around, you're going about your day, you're doing this and that, you're talking to people, you're distracted, you're moving your there's a lot of impulses, inputs that are coming in your nervous system. You're not necessarily feeling each one of them, right? On the flip side, if you're relaxing, you have more time to hone in on it. You have more time to notice when they pop up because they'll be a little louder compared to your environment. I've also noticed, as I spoke before, there's a lag effect. I feel that whenever something really stressful happens to me, I will twitch in the moment. I will, however, twitch a lot more once that stressor is gone and I could start relaxing. I'll see my twitching ramp up for a few days. When it comes to hot spots, I think that a lot of people think it's like something really sinister, but it doesn't have to be. It's also part of BFS, guys. This is something that we need to start trusting and understanding and expecting more than anything else. You will have hot spots and you will have new spots where you twitch, especially within the first year or two. My gosh, I remember like it started in my eyes and legs, right? And then I had my first hot spot right here, okay? Right there. And that one lasted for a hot minute. And I'm not saying a hot minute like literally. It lasted for weeks at a time. I've had a hot spot in my tongue that lasted for a few weeks as well. Would I consider my calves a hot spot? They've never stopped. So hot spots come and go. They do happen. Sometimes they're just for a day. Sometimes they're for a week. Sometimes they're for a month or more. It really depends. And the more you stress out about them, the more they will keep being there. Because remember, although being calm might not completely eradicate BFS, it sure does fucking help it. So if you're stressing out about your hot spot on top of having a hot spot, you're just creating more adrenaline and cortisol to make your muscles go apeshit yet again. So hot spots, do I have them? Yes. Have I had them in multiple different places? Yes. Have they lasted a long ass time? Also yes. One of the people I was talking to today on Reddit, kind person, was very worried about a hot spot in their hand. I've had some so many times. For me, it was here. This little muscle in there twitched for weeks. I don't have any problem grasping anything. I've had hot spots here, a lot of them. I've had hot spots on my cheek. I've had hot spots on my pec, on my abs. The middle of my back has had hot spots. I've had some in my feet. I've had some on my thigh, on my calf. It happens everywhere, guys. That's the nature of the beast. It just fucking happens. So are hot spots determined by what you were ruminating on at the moment? Yes and no. I will get super random hot spots. that are not linked to anything I'm worried about in the current moment. However, I remember in the early stages of all of this, I was focused on my swallowing a lot. Well, not swallowing, but on this sense, I think they call it globus sensation. I had that within the first few months, and I was constantly focused on my neck. But since I was constantly focused on my neck, I could also constantly feel the twitches there more than any other place because that's where I would always hone in. So they were probably there, and they probably would have been there had I not been concentrating on that area. But since I was, they felt more prominent, if that makes any sense. All right, another question I got is, do I think vitamin deficiencies worsen BFS? I haven't been the most strict when it comes to taking my vitamins. I've tried adaptogens for anxiety, which don't know what that was for. I've tried omega-3s. I've tried B vitamins. I've tried magnesium. I take vitamin D. Mind you, I haven't been taking these religiously. I maybe should try to take them continuously. I've taken them for maybe like a month or two at best, and then I'd be like, oh, it doesn't do shit. And I would just stop them. This person I spoke to this week said that something called liquid IV helped a lot. I've never personally tried it. I am willing to try it. I'm going to human guinea pig myself. What I saw in it was a lot of potassium, which I've heard another YouTuber on BFS YouTuber speak about, that he took potassium, like high-ish amounts. Talk to your doctor first, talk to your whatever, your nutritionist. No, this isn't me telling you what to do. But I believe he was taking like a good amount of potassium supplements, and it kind of helped him slash cleared it for him. It's a one-off. I don't know if that's, I think that we wouldn't be so many people suffering with this if it were that easy to get rid of. Magnesium, I've tried. Does it help? Helps me with sleeping a bit, so that's a plus, and that kind of dials my twitches down a bit. Should I try it again for a longer period? I think I am willing to try magnesium and potassium for a longer period. I'll look into that, and I could, try it for like, let's say I'll give myself 6 months, and then I could report back on it. Who knows? So have I tried anything that was crazy helpful? No. I do know that when I started having BFS and I got my first blood work, my vitamin B12 was on the lower end of normal, which my doctor said could be normal for me or abnormal for me, and normal for someone else or abnormal for someone else, because it was really on the cusp of being too low. Could that have caused it? Maybe, but I've been taking B12 ever since. My levels have gone up. I'm nowhere near deficient in B12 now, and I'm still twitching. So did I cause like permanent damage back then? Maybe, I don't know. But is there any like magic pill? I wish there were. There isn't. Another question is distracting yourself from the fasciculations helpful in lessening them? Distracting myself alone from them will not lessen them. It will just make me not hone in on them. That's answer number one. Answer number two is distracting myself long enough from that, from Googling, from freaking out, from the usual anxiety stuff, will lessen them. I'll give you an example. If I'm constantly thinking about twitching and I'm nervous about it and I'm honing in on it and I have tunnel vision about it, I will have more twitching, not because I'm necessarily only honing in on it, but also because I'm stressed out about it and I'm pumping these hormones through my body for no good reason. So if I'm distracting myself and truly accepting that I'm twitching and truly letting the twitching go, not giving it any attention, not giving it any power, not feeling sorry for myself, not, pumping my body with adrenaline. And yeah, they will lessen. They're not going to go away completely. I think the damage is done. For me personally, I think they will lessen if you truly get to a place of acceptance. If you still, in the back of your mind, can't wait to go on that little Reddit post or that Google search tonight, but you're distracting yourself for 20 minutes off of the twitches, not gonna cut it. What finally helped you trust the issue was BFS and not something sinister? There are many answers to this. First of all, getting medical clearance is crucial. And I know that I'm not saying that you should, I don't want this to be interpreted in the way that, I need to take all these appointments and get all these tests done time and time again. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to get that first all clear. You have symptoms. It is normal when you start getting these symptoms to go to the doctor, get them assessed, have your neurological exam, have your EMG if you've gotten one. MRI is another one you could get, have your blood work looked at, have yourself assessed by a professional. That's a given. You need to do that at first. You can't keep doing that. Trusting the diagnosis. There's a certain point where you need to tell yourself there's a reason why they're the doctors and you're not. There's a reason why all these tests are out there and they're performing them and they have things to measure your situation with. The EMG is not the only thing. There are many other tools in their pocket, one being just the physical exam. The thing you're scared of presents with different symptoms, more severe symptoms than what you have right now. You guys, if you walk into the doctor's office and if someone with a disease you're afraid of walks into the doctor's office, two different things. Trust the opinion of your doctor. Have a follow-up test if they recommend it. You cannot keep going back for reassurance. You need to learn to trust. And I want to make a video on anxiety and like OCD and health anxiety. And I think a huge component of it is lack of trust. Trust in others, trust in your own capabilities, trust in your own judgment. You don't trust yourself, you don't trust shit. Again, trusting the diagnosis. Then I also found community, which was a lifesaver for me. When I first started twitching, I found on YouTube this girl called Sherelle. She's gone through the twitching. She's twitched from head to toe. She's had her tongue twitching whenever she gets nervous again. It does happen. So seeing that others were like, that's where I say the initial reassurance is important, because seeing that other people are like you and are now okay and doing well is, I think, a first or second step in, all right, I'm scared. I went to the doctor. I got all clear from them. Now I'm going to find my peers and see how they're doing and see what helped them, and find my community with people who understand me, who are willing to like hold me through this journey. So I saw her on YouTube. Her videos really helped me out. I saw this, I think the YouTube channel is called BFS and anxiety. I don't really remember. He sounds Scottish. Really helped me out. And then I also found a guy named David Harvey who's had BFS for well over 10 years now. And just seeing him and how resilient he's gotten and how healthy he is, and he could work out and do this and that, and he could go about his day, not freak out. Seeing people who were, paving the way ahead of me really helped me out. And with David, I subscribed to his Patreon, and we had these Zoom calls with other people who are new at twitching and in the BFS world. And we all got to like talk to each other, compare how we were doing. And David was really steering the conversation so that we wouldn't get into these, oh, is it normal to twitch here? Is it, because that's a level of reassurance at some point that you need to, okay? So medical clearance, community, trust, Another thing that really helped me trust that this was benign is recognizing my own strength. I resumed my workouts much later, but I resumed them at one point and I saw that I could progress. I would, walk around, be fine. I would do some gardening, be able to lift stuff. I would be able to play with my dogs. There's a point in BFS where we're solely focusing on the twitches or solely focusing on the perceived weakness or solely focusing on the zaps that we're feeling. There's a point where you need to take yourself out of yourself, zoom out and say like, okay, I will now force myself to look at what's good about my body. And that's kind of what David steered me towards, because he was like, look, I could put on muscle. So I went that way and I was like, okay, I'm going to start working out again. Yeah, I could put on muscle. Yes, I do notice my strength improving. Yes, I can take long walks. Yes, I've gotten a cold and I fought it. It doesn't have to do anything with BFS, but like I was starting to trust that my body was resilient, that my body was doing these amazing things that I had no part in on its own. And this was an incredible machine that I got to navigate. And I started switching my outlook on, listen, this is not a dangerous diagnosis. It's annoying at worst. Okay. It's a reminder to take care of yourself at best. The body twitching and the zaps and the feelings that we're getting, they are, to me anyways, I have learned to befriend them. I've learned that they are messengers. That's all it is. My arm's going right now. If I twitch a lot, to me, it's, all right, body, you're telling me you've had enough. You're telling me this was a hard week. We've done a lot. We haven't eaten well. We haven't taken care of our sleep. We haven't, done some stretching, done some somatic work, name it. There's a point where you need to change your outlook on BFS and say this is your greatest friend, because if it does not remind you to pipe it down, you will not remind yourself. You don't even know sometimes how hard you're going at it in your own head. So I now trust my body more. I listen to it a lot more. I thank it a lot for what it does for me. I think I've always had this relationship with my body where I was always somewhat afraid of it, somewhat afraid of what it could do to me, how it could react to certain things. And I had this lack of trust I was talking about before. And I think that throughout this, I've learned to just say, like, it knows what it's doing. And I can't spend my life not living because I'm afraid of dying. I can't live a life based on death while I'm alive. If I live the entire life thinking about death or illness, then I will not have lived at all. So I think it's really just a question of moving forward. What do you want? Do you want to keep staying in your head? Do you want to keep ruining your life? Do you want to miss out on all the good things because you're ruminating, because you're Googling, because you're afraid of this and that? Or do you want to just listen to that twitch when it tells you, check yourself? That's what I decided to do. And when it does that, I take a step down and say, yeah, I should maybe carve out some time throughout my day to, stretch at night and relax and do some breathing, because those things, they're not going to help you while you're in a panic mode. These things are called prevention. So to me anyways, so it's a reminder for me, like, hey, you should maybe be eating better, maybe drinking a bit less coffee. You've been overdoing it because you haven't been sleeping so good. What could you do to sleep better? Befriend your twitches and trust your body. Your body knows what it's doing. The reason it's twitching is because it is telling you loud and clear, we are done. Please take a step back. To circle back on all of this, what helped me was trusting the doctors, trusting my body, community, definitely community, and listening to to the signals and loving it for it, because best communicator. My body's communicating to me. Some people don't get that. And then I would say when you get to a certain point, helping others through it, which is where I think I'm heading now. As I always say, I'm still dealing with things. I'm not perfect, but I am better than I was. I have gotten to a place I never thought I would get to mentally. So I'm just here to pass the torch on, if that makes any sense. So anyways, I hope you all have a good evening. I'm tired as shit. I'll be twitching tomorrow. I've overdone it. All right, bye guys.